here. So I hope you're okay with that. And I'm going to start with actually, the personal side of things. Interestingly, I just realized that I don't often talk about this in these webinars, but behind everything, such as the mindset maps or any course or any story or any book or any methodology, there is always some kind of a personal story. And in my case, I'm going to share screens here and maybe go to this screen view. So in my case, the story is currently, what do I do? So that I also introduce myself. I'm a contributor for Forbes and Psychology Today. I have been, and I am the co-founder of the MindsetMaps tool with Robert. I have a podcast, which is about the idea of modern masculinity and men, and what does it mean to balance masculinity and femininity. And I have a organizational development company that's called Purpose and Company. So we work with companies on culture and change. But it wasn't like this, a few years ago, quite a few years ago. I guess, the story is that I was a kid. I wasn't particularly big. I didn't have particularly big muscles, as you can see on this picture. And I wasn't from a particularly big country. I was actually from a very small country, Hungary. So I have always been sort of fascinated with, what makes people successful, because as I kind of started to enter into my adolescence period, I realized that, quite a few people from Hungary, actually, interestingly, I don't know if you know that, but they made huge contributions. So, for example, the guy who invented the computer, Neumann, was from Hungary, or the guy who invented, and this is quite controversial, the nuclear bomb, as it was used in the world wars, was from Hungary, and we could debate whether his contribution was something that was making the world worse or better. But interestingly, so it doesn't seem to be connected to where you are coming from or what school you go to. There really are people that live very fulfilling, meaningful lives, and also feel that they contribute and they're successful. And others, it doesn't work out for them. And they still go to fantastic schools, come from fantastic families. And so why is that? And so that always very much fascinated me. And that sort of led me to become a psychologist. And then, I kind of left psychology because I thought that my work is more in the area where people are, mentally okay. So they are not considering themselves under some kind of a mental health issue. They're actually very healthy, and yet they're experiencing difficulties in their lives. And how do you help them, or how do you help, which has always fascinated me, somebody who is actually very successful, maybe in business? How do you help someone like that to become more conscious, so less ego-driven, but maybe more soul-driven? So those were the questions that were interesting to me, and this has sort of led to the mindset maps. I feel like it's kind of a culmination coming from that. So what are we going to do today? We're just going to run through the following points. First, we're going to talk a little bit about why mindset important, and I think I may have already sort of explained why I think it was important for me. But I want to talk about in general, why is it important? And then we want to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of mindset maps. So what makes it unique? Then, sort of move to what is the value to you, or, why would you want to certify as a mindset maps coach? And then we're going to kind of look at the SMI coaching or the Mindset Maps coaching. So what is this web app? What does it do? What does it give you as a coach or somebody who wants to use this in your work? We'll do a brief demo today as well. And then we'll close with a special offer that is for the next 24 hours. So that would be the plan for today, what we want to cover. And, maybe just to start with a couple of quotes, because, one guy who was extremely influential, and I think he's an interesting role model, although, he's like any role models, there are stories about him too, but I think he's accomplished something very, very remarkable. And he said, your beliefs become your thoughts. And then your thoughts become your words, and they lead into your actions. Then, as you keep repeating those, those actions become habits. And as you are doing them day and day and every day and every month and every year, they become your values. And then before you realize it, your values are actually your destiny. And if you think about this, I think what that means and what's really fascinating about it is that it could mean that essentially you're driven by an unconscious program, which is related to your thoughts, your beliefs, which translate into your actions and habits. Or you could be conscious of it, and there would be a possibility to change it for the better. Another quote, which I really love, and it has inspired us with Robert when creating the Mindset Maps, is the question of what myth are you living? Based on this idea that we are telling a story to ourselves, and it's a myth. And it could be a positive myth, it could be a negative myth, it could be a conscious myth, it could be an unconscious myth. So as you work with the Mindset Maps, you'll notice that it's actually helping you to think about your myth, your story. This idea of where are you coming from and where are you going to? And then, the third, I think we could think about it as, on a bigger level, right? So not just my mind, or, where does mind take me from a little country to a very big country, to the US, and, from feeling very insignificant to maybe making a contribution. So how does that happen for an individual? That's an exciting question. But I think even more exciting, or perhaps to some of us more exciting, is the big question of what about the individual, what about the shared mindset? So what about a global mindset? And what about if we begin to see some of the problems that we are all fighting with in our respective countries, wherever we are? It's environment, it's politics, it's race, it's all kinds of differentiation. So what if they're a symptom of a global shared mindset? And what if there are ways to affect that mindset? So one of our goals with the Mindset Maps was to be creating a tool that perhaps has the potential to affect the mindset of many people. So, just a little bit more about mindsets here at the beginning. So mindsets, it's a tricky phenomena because some people equate mindset with personality. And personality, even though, psychologists argue if even there is such a thing as personality, but if there is, then it's way more innate. It's something that you kind of come with, you're wired with it. It develops until the age of 9, and then it becomes sort of fixed. And maybe you evolve, but your personality doesn't really change. So mindset is very different. Mindset is actually something that you can develop. You can actually set and reset. I would suggest that if you could put yourself on mute, just so that we have a quiet scene. We're going to have some questions as well. Thank you very much. So the point being, again, that mindset is something that I'm in charge of. It is something that is shaped by my experiences. It is something that is also going to shape, my life and the way I perceive the world. As Gandhi was pointing out, it could become something that's habitual, right? Because I'm sort of unconsciously repeating a pattern, and I learn it, and it becomes a habit. It is certainly something that is connected to beliefs, right? So how what I believe about myself, what I believe about the world, what I believe about perhaps my customers, my family, my other important stakeholders. So it is very much connected to who I think I am, which is my identity. Also to this idea of why am I here, which is my purpose, if I'm conscious of such a thing, right? So mindset is going to be connected to all of these. But the good and interesting thing about it is that, again, it's a set of my mind, of my beliefs, and I can reset it. And what we have noticed is that, there isn't one winning mindset. There are so many methodologies in the world that claim that, okay, so if you adopt this mindset and if you do these 5 things, it's gonna make you successful. And I think all of us who have studied a little bit and gone into self-reflection and psychology, we find that it's not really true. There are different types of goals, focuses, and different types of mindsets that will help us to get there. And if we just try to go for one, it's just going to create problems. Actually, it's going to create blind spots, because now I have this one mindset and I'm trying to look at everything through that one lens. So we have actually found, as you may have seen if you have taken the mindset maps, that it has 3 distinct levels or areas, and there's one that's the one that we call the meta mindset, which is the big picture, and basically it's very connected to this idea of the myth. What myth are you living? What do you think? Where you're coming from and where you're going? What's your journey? And we have found that these successful conscious entrepreneurs that we have modeled and researched and interviewed, they all seem to be very clear on a story. And the story is often scary and very often very inspirational, but they always have one thing in common. They're coming from somewhere, going somewhere. They want to be somewhere. So there's a sense of, I'm on this ship, I'm on this mission, and I'm going to get there. Which then also gives this idea that I'm kind of a captain of this ship, which is very empowering. So those were things that we've noticed as we were researching mindset. And then, okay, so maybe just to take a second. So isn't this just a tool? And what makes it so special? There's so many tools. So what we have intended to create is really a tool that can connect 2 things. And those 2 are very important. One is what we call generativity. So how do you create a better state? How do you help someone to generate new answers? All the NLP tools, generative coaching, a lot of the embodiment work, the trance work is about generativity. But often what happens with generative work is that it's not very measurable. So we wanted this to be a tool that can actually measure, my understanding of myself and how I progress. And if I'm a coach, for my client? How does the client progress? How does a team progress? How does the mindset changes as we go along? So it's a research-based tool that can actually bring those two together. The other thing which we have intending to create through the tool was, help for coaches to know where to tap. Because typically what happens in this kind of work, when you coach somebody, it takes quite a bit of time to get to where to tap, where is the issue. And as you will see, the tool helps you to focus and quite quickly get to this point of, oh, okay, maybe I should tap here if I want to achieve something. So that was sort of the second reason why we think it's a unique tool and why it's worth your attention if you're a coach or a consultant or an entrepreneur or an internal coach or an internal consultant, or you work in HR. So the other thing which we intended is to create a global community of people where, we are not just in the same ballpark in terms of, similar values, similar methods on a higher level, but that we have a tool, a language that really sort of connects us, and we can use that and we can prove that globally. And as we have more and more, so now, we have a few thousand people that have taken this, but hopefully we'll get to very large numbers. So we intend to use that data to prove that, there's a way to create some kind of a mindset shift, and also to provide everybody who is a MindsetMaps certified coach an opportunity for connection, for sharing knowledge, and for finding customers. We are not only working, so one of our biggest intentions is not only to do individual work with the MindsetMaps, but to do team level work. So soon a team report and the leadership version of the MindsetMap report is coming. And that's very much intended to help, conscious leaders and create more conscious organizations and companies. So, for us, it's really more like a movement. And to say that there's no other revolution. People always want to create big change, but the change, happens through the mind, through the mindset. So that's why the mindset map, we believe, is a great tool to support people who want to create such changes. The next one, just to highlight, and I'm not going to go into details, but most of you will have seen this probably in some shape or form. This is the neurological levels, where we sort of look at the levels of change, or like I always say that as a consultant or a coach, this is a really good way to unpack a situation. Where, when, what is this place, what's happening, how are the capabilities and skills of the participants, what are their beliefs, who they think they are, so what are the assumed identities of the players, and what is the higher purpose of each one of them. And this is a great tool for, again, unpacking and understanding what's going on in any given moment when you enter as a coach or a trainer or an internal advisor. And, if we look at it this way, mindset would be connected, as we said, to purpose, identity, values, and beliefs, and to a certain extent to the how. So what I wanted to show you is, kind of using this model and then look at our mindset map tool. So ultimately, we're saying, the bigger purpose is to create a shift in the mindset of key players in this world, and especially people who are in the business world, because the business people have a lot of influence. So if we could influence business people, I think we can influence the world. Then on an identity level, to help a coach to be really more like an awakener. And again, there is a lot of generative work and a lot of methodology in this world about how to be an awakener. And when you hear that word, it's kind of magical. It's kind of like a wizard. But what if, as somebody famously said, one of the creators of NLP, magic has a structure. So what we wanted to do is help people who are interested in mindset change to become an awakener. And we believe that this tool really is helpful for that. So that then you can influence the world and combine this generative approach with measurability, as we said. We are providing a lot of how in the Mindset Map coaching certification, where we look at things like the success factor modeling framework. We look at 48 NLP tools, which are actually built into this app. When we diagnose, we show the current mindset versus the ideal mindset. We suggest tools to close the gap, and they come from NLP. And then, we also have a process on sort of the behavior level, a 6-step coaching process to follow with your customers when you use the Mindset Map. Now, that doesn't mean that if you already have another method that you have to use only this. The idea is that, there is a way to use the Mindset Map tool or integrate it into your practice. And we are looking at that in depth. And then, what sort of outcomes we are hoping to create? Well, more motivation, alignment, more energy, more clarity, more success for either an individual or for a team of people when we work with a leadership team. And again, the idea here is faster. So it's very valuable when you know where to go and you don't have to look for it for a very long time. So that was one of the intentions behind the Mindset Maps, to take people quickly to the right place. We often like to emphasize that the tool is based on a number of things. One is research. So there was a lot of qualitative research, interviews conducted globally, especially in Europe and the United States, but also in Asia. There was also quite a bit of NLP modeling. There was the whole framework of success factor modeling. So when we look at mindset, we kind of base it on a whole set of principles and methods in terms of what's important for somebody who wants to create a successful venture. Also the NLP principles, and not just principles, but tools. And then basically all the understanding that we have as of today about the mindset and neuroscience. I already talked about personality and the difference between personality and mindset, so I'm not going to get into that. But maybe for now to have a working definition of what is the Mindset Maps. It's an online assessment and development tool, which then helps either people or teams to better understand their own mindset, and then to make adjustments necessary. And here's the key part: in order to reach important business or life goals. And then there are these 5 goals, as you can see here, which we ask people to choose from, either to increase your personal satisfaction out of that work that you're doing, or to make a meaningful contribution, right? Like maybe your venture wants to create a really meaningful contribution. Maybe, those two are not necessarily the same. I can enjoy it, but I may not be able to make a big enough contribution then, or a meaningful enough contribution. Then, the third one is to achieve greater innovation and resilience, which means, I'm going to bring something into this world. And then we have 2 tools, 2 goals. One is financial robustness, so to achieve a certain size, and then to build a scalable business, which means it's not just financial health, but it means that, you know, I can grow and scale this to a really much larger context. And all of this with, you know, the ego and soul balance in mind. So we say that we help people who are interested in purpose and profit, not people that are only interested in profit, and probably not people who are only interested in purpose, because then that's, you know, that's just make a meaningful contribution. So we can help you with that, but we like to point out that you need the other things as well. So it's a balanced approach. As I mentioned, you know, it's based on the principles of success factor modeling and this circle of success. And we kind of overlaid the circle of success, which talks about all the nitty-gritty of a successful conscious entrepreneur, with the 3 levels of the mindset, which we named meta, macro, and micro. So what you see at the end, you know, when you do the inventory, is kind of a marriage amalgamate of those 2 things. And this is why you need to sort of take a certification program to really understand what are the connections between the 2. So what is this program? You know, I just want to spend a few minutes on what the program looks like. So the program is based on 6 modules now, and the first module is to look at the 5 focuses. So as you see, you know, financial robustness, meaningful contribution, personal satisfaction, innovation and resilience, scalable growth, each are a different goal focus for a leader or an entrepreneur, which we want to support them with, and each has a different mindset pattern. So in this first module, you understand what those are. Then we dive into success factor modeling. And if somebody is already savvy in success factor modeling, it's more an understanding of what is the connection between mindset and success factor modeling. If it's new, then for you to understand, you know, what are the basics of success factor modeling, which explains a lot of why the different mindsets look like the way they look like. Then in the third module, we go into, as you remember, the process of the how. So what are the 6 steps of applying the tool? How do you start? And how do you get somewhere with this particular tool in your work? Then in the 4th module, we learn to use the tools, because there are 48 different NLP tools available. And then, you know, we kind of connect everything, and we do a session, a certification session, where there is peer supervision and supervision from me and some other resource people. And, you know, there is also work in between the modules and some coaching sessions that the coaches or the would-be coaches conduct with their first friendly customers. And then in the 6th module, we look at the sort of the web app itself and the administration, and as a coach, how you can use it and how you can use the data of your customers and all those kinds of details. So that's really what the 6 modules look like. And, you know, the first module is online, and the second is, which is on November 19th and 20th, is a face-to-face module. So all of the from module 2 to module 6, each time it's 2 days, each time it's 3 hours. It's very interactive. You watch some videos before with some masterclasses from Robert and me, but then when we meet, we really kind of dive into the practice and questions, and we use, you know, we try to use that theory to get it in the muscle. And, you know, the way you can think about it, this is just a sort of the Trello board that we use. So we have this board where we have all the materials for each module, all the videos, all the slides. And then, you know, before we meet, you have things to watch, prepare. Then you come, then we practice. you work with a lot of other people. So there's a lot of benefit to kind of work through your own venture and through your own next level in your professional life as a coach or consultant or internal coach, or sometimes a leader in an organization, right? And so we have everything up here. So, you know, it's a virtual program, but when we get together, it's very much interactive, and you get a lot of attention from your peers and also from me and the resource people. So that's kind of how to think about the program. Before we do the demo, you know, just sort of a highlight of, there are lots of things packed into the program. So essentially it's 15 to 30 hours of training that you can actually do on your own, because you're watching these master classes. And so, you know, 15 hours is the minimum, but you can do more. So we have actually a lot of materials. And then we also have the 30 hours of the interactive part, which I mentioned. You get a book of the generative consulting book. You get access to our administration access on the web for a year. We are saying 6 months here, but it's actually going to be roughly a year. And you're going to get your own mindset report, and then you get 5 others that you can use with your customers. You get this MindsetMaps workbook. So, you know, in addition to what you get in the program, there is $690 of value that you get as an early bird customer. So those are sort of the value propositions. And then, you know, if we go back a little bit and we can do our demo here in a moment. So you go on the web, as you have seen, you answer quite a few questions online, and at the end you get a quick comparison report. Now, if you go for the premium report, you know, you will get more in-depth analysis. You will get the tools that we suggest. And in the premium report, you will see, you know, this comparison chart. And in this case, you know, this is Karen's report that is with us. So thank you, Karen, for being a willing volunteer and also being willing to share this. And, you know, if I'm preparing as a MindsetMaps coach, I will be seeing her report through the administration backend. And so I can do some pre-thinking before we meet. And in this case, you know, she said, I'd like to achieve greater innovation and resilience. So that was the focus that she has selected. And then she'll see a report comparison like this. And here, what you see is, you know, the different circles. So the inner circle is the meta mindset. This is the macro mindset, the second circle, and the third is the micro mindset. And then there are these little icons. And, you know, when you get your, let me just try to show you the report. Do you still see my screen in the report? Yeah, awesome. So let me just make it a little bigger. So, you know, so it's a PDF file, and, you know, she sees this, which is what you saw a minute ago. And then here, you know, you have basically, you know, what does it mean? Which icon means what? And the idea is that as a coach, you know, I already know which icon means what and which circle means what, but I can see that there are some that are circled here. So here's the ideal mindset, which is based on research and modeling. We saw that if you want more innovation and resilience, these things will matter the most. And so when we look at her meta mindset here, you know, all her icons are lit up. So nothing is going to be circled red, because it looks like, you know, she needs, by the way, role and vision, she must have given a value of more than 7 for those. But then when we go to the meta mindset, we'll see that there are things that from the ideal mindset point of view are very important, such as this, which is regular feedback, and this, which is energy and focus. And she has given, it's semi lit up. So it means that she's given a value of 7, or, so between basically 5 and 7. So I would want to speak to her about those two, just to understand what that means. And then for the micro, I see that there are 2 that is very important. This means creating win-win partnerships, and this means creating a sustainable infrastructure. So, processes and scalability. And in her case, those 2 are not selected. So I would want to also talk to her about those 2, because from the point of view of creating more, innovation and resilience, those are extremely relevant. So as a mindset map coach, the idea is that, by the time we meet, I can look at a number of charts, and she will have gone through this self-reflection. And so we already know we are starting from somewhere, and we can start, actually the logic is that, if there's something with the meta, the big picture, we start there. If there's something with the macro, we probably want to check in on that before we get to the micro mindset, which is, as you hear it, it's more about the daily priorities. So I'm sort of well prepared in a way, right, to start a coaching conversation. So what I wanted to do is actually maybe take a brief session here, and obviously it's going to be very compressed, but maybe speak to Karen a little bit, and see where we get in this short time. So maybe you could unmute yourself, and I could also pin you up here. Hold on, let me find you. Yeah. So just, okay. So again, welcome and thank you for volunteering. Can you just maybe share briefly, so you selected this goal of creating more innovation and resilience. So what is this goal for you? What does it mean? What is the context? Just really.
I actually need to say that when I done my report, I actually selected build a scalable business.
You have?
So that is, because that's where I am. So I have 3 businesses, one which has been in existence for 20 years, and 2 over the last couple of years, and it's the latest one that is where I have the clearest direction on and everything else. But it's the connections of the limitations of the other 2 businesses that are preventing me taking that journey. They are what's draining the energy and the focus from the new business.
Right. Okay. So it's interesting. You may have clicked on another goal because that's the report as it came off. So we could certainly check this, and this is good. This is a good thing because that this is happening, because that actually does happen with real clients that we might meet, and then it turns out that either the coachee says, well, I decided for this focus, but now I would rather go for this one based on our discussion, or there could be a glitch. So this could be something technical that you clicked on something and then it generated the report. This is how it came off. But interesting, because we can still use our results if we kind of. I'm going to share this comparison chart again for a moment. So, from a point of view of scalability, things like creating a sustainable infrastructure, so creating processes, and then also creating partnerships, win-win partnerships, is going to be a crucial thing. So just to check first with you, you have not selected those things as something that you either like doing. Is that true? So if you think about,
Yeah, I don't think you're actually looking at my report because
yeah.
I am so process driven. I'm off the scale. Did you want? I have the report still on my screen. Did you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Hold on, let me so let's put up yours.
So this was my one from the report, the second one that I've done today for you, around building a scalable business. So that was my current mindset map.
Right.
And there was my ideal mindset map.
Right. Okay. So let's go to your current mindset map. Yeah, I don't think I've seen your second one, so that may be what's happening here, because there was not enough time for me to check this second one. Okay. So if I were to look at this, it's interesting because so down here, you know, the little Lego elements in the outer circle, yeah, that one. So that's still not fully lit. And the way it works, it would be lit, fully lit, if you would have said, I like it, I'm good at it, and I keep spending time doing it. So if you were to just forget about the inventory and you know, we are just sitting here, the two of us, yes, and we're thinking about building you know, sustainable infrastructure, which means, you know, it's actually related to processes. It's creating, you know, perhaps, you know, any means with which you can scale your business. So do you like doing that?
I do like doing it.
Right. Yeah.
It's one of those things that's a bit of a rabbit hole. So when I start, I disappear down it for a long time.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's so I do enjoy the process side of it and things like that. It's I think it's from a challenge point of view comes from me, obviously, because of the 3 different businesses that I have,
Right,
which creates that challenge. Yeah.
So what must have happened is that you think that you're good at it, right? You like it, but you probably said you don't spend time doing it because you don't have enough time.
In the new business, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And can you say maybe just, you know, really high level what those businesses are? So what are the different businesses?
Yeah, so I have a company that provides outsourced business support. So we support global companies virtually, doing everything from full-on business management all the way across the board to social media and things like that. The second one, we do events, so corporate events, gala dinners, conferences and things like that. And then the third business is, which is my newest one, which is because I've been in consulting for such a long time that of moving into coaching. And that's where I've been for the past 18 months, but have really transitioned over this past year with I've done 800 hours of training this year. So I'm fully transitioning over.
Right. Okay. And so let's do a quick exercise here together. I'm going to sort of guide you through this, and you know, you're sometimes I'm going to ask you to share some of it. So let's just kind of see where it takes us. So the initial thing is just to what we like to call establishing a good state. So anything that you can do as you're sitting here, you know, beyond the screen, and we're connecting, and just, you know, connecting back to your breathing for a moment, and breathe, and maybe as you're breathing in, make the breath longer as it goes out. So breathing in and breathing out, and just kind of getting the sense that you're reconnecting to your body and not just in your head with all these businesses that, you know, are on your hands, the 3 things, and all the challenges with the time. So just coming back to this present moment and connecting to your best self. And as you're breathing, perhaps, softening your eyes a little bit. So not even the eye contact is very important for us now. Just, really for you to feel connected to yourself, but also getting the sense that we are connected and doing something meaningful. And then perhaps you can also connect to this intention that you just mentioned, that I want to be able to focus on the third business. There's a calling there regarding coaching. So I have this intention to be able to do that too. And as you're breathing, maybe just somehow, in whichever way it feels natural for you, to put yourself into a future state where, it's Karen who is connected 100% to her intention and purpose, the difference that you're trying to make in this world. And somehow these businesses fall into their places and you're able to do what you really want to do. And just really kind of, as you really soften your eyes and put yourself into this future state, maybe allowing yourself what it feels like to be able to do exactly what you want to do and make a difference. And as you sort of really feel, see, hear what that means, if you were to now turn a little bit and from this future state, look at your present state. So the younger version of Karen sitting, on this day, November 2nd, in this room. So if you look at her from here, what seems to be, like, what strikes you about her dilemma with, the available time and the three businesses? So what strikes you? What would be something that she could do differently from here?
When I look back, I actually see all three, but when I look forward, I don't see all three at all. And longer, when I look further on to the future, I only see one.
What do you see? Which one?
I only see my coaching business. Yeah.
Right.
It's, so when I look back to the other side, it's in black and white. I see it in black and white.
Wow.
The future is in color, a very bright color. So there's a very different feeling and just whole visual around it. Everything feels dark and dismal and grey. So glad none of my clients are on this phone call. And the future is very different. It feels very different.
Right.
The whole visual is much stronger.
So, maybe a final question. If you were to put yourself back, soften eyes or close your eyes and really see that picture in color, you are in your coaching business, you're very connected to it, and you feel it literally in your body right now. So I'm wondering, what do you believe about yourself now as you are in this future state and running this successful coaching business?
And I can fully see myself doing it. I've got some really big decisions which I'm currently going through at the moment, and I feel more connected to being able to make those decisions and being comfortable with those decisions that I'm making, and knowing that, well, I know that they're connected, sort of head, heart, and gut, and in that way,
So, but by the way, in this place where you are now, and it's color, and it's, you know, it's vivid and alive, and you can feel it. What sort of quality do you think you and your younger Karen self needs to go through those decisions effectively? What sort of inner quality would help her to make those decisions right?
It's the courage. So it's the courage to make that jump.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a block of having the courage to actually, because I know that it's the right decision, but the courage to then do it, and to disconnect from the others to go where I want to be.
Right. Yeah. So maybe what we could do is just sort of allow ourselves to feel some gratitude for this clarity, you know, that it takes courage, and that, you know, the three will become one, and the one feels so aligned. And, you know, just feeling the gratitude that you can make that happen mentally, and so you can probably make that happen in the real world with this quality of the courage that you've just mentioned. So let's breathe some courage in, and then, you know, breathe some gratitude out. Thank you. So obviously, if we were to go on and, you know, explore a little bit, we could do a lot more. But at this point, I just want to say, you know, this was a kind of an interesting little twist, because what would happen is with the map, if we had the right map, right? Like so that's an interesting point. If we have the right map, the map is going to point us to very clear direction. If the map is not correct, and, you know, our little glitch was a metaphor for reality, because this is what happens in reality, that you know, the person may have a map, but that map only shows the current three businesses and the business and the impossibility of, you know, how do I allocate my time? And interestingly, this new map, you know, the map of the future shows one business, and we see that the bridge between those two maps leads through the mental ability of courage. So we would now have to work together with Karen, and, you know, we might have a chance in the program, if you join, to actually then work through, okay, so what are some means, what are some mentors, inner mentors that you can bring in to help with that courage. So thank you for this quick demo and your willingness to share again.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. That was sort of the demo part that I wanted to share. And I'm wondering, you know, at this point, if you have any questions that you wanted to ask. I know that we don't have a lot of time, but, you know, I can stay a few more minutes. So I'm curious if anyone has any questions that you wanted to ask here at the end. I'm wondering, you know, so one thing which we didn't talk about that I can perhaps share with you as sort of our closing thoughts is that, so in the report, let me share screen again. So in the report, then at the end, there is the final page, which sort of talks about, as an overall summary, the results. And if you said that, your meta mindset is very strong, it will state that, based on your assessment, the meta mindset is very strong. Talk to your coach about it, because sometimes it's interesting to calibrate. But if you have given lower rates, the system will then suggest, according to the goal, according to this contrast analysis, certain specific tools, such as in this case, mapping the hero's journey would be potentially a recommended tool. And then when you click on the hero's journey, you would get this little document that takes you through what is the hero's journey tool and some steps. So this would be something that you could then use for self-coaching, as well as you could get together with your coach and then do a little hero's journey exploration. And as we were saying in this little demo, courage is an important tool to get through the obstacle. So it would be then now an interesting exercise to work with some of these decisions that Karen has to take, which, form a kind of current obstacle, and how she could somehow transform this obstacle, and, how she could get over it, what beliefs she needs to get over it. So that could be our next step. And this is how the Mindset Map tool is built, that it will actually recommend a tool for you as a coach to work with. And then, I could now decide, okay, let's talk to Karen a little bit and let's figure out whether the hero's journey is the right tool, or, maybe I want to talk to her a little bit more about those decisions and see, what they entail and what they mean for her. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty of how the tool works. In the meantime, I got this one question here regarding the ICF certification. We've started it. It's not yet done. So it's not yet ICF certified right now. It will, if you do the certification, it will give you the ability to use the tool. You go on the mindset. So we have a website where we have, I don't know if you've seen this, but we have 60, close to not 60 coaches that are already certified. So, that's our coach faculty here. And so basically one of the ideas is that, through the website, we are bringing in people who are interested in the tool and connecting you with them. And also that you can use this Mindset Map admin backend and look at the results and play with the data. And then, this also provides, if you are a member of IAGC, a basis for the professional membership at IAGC. So that's where we are with that. So thank you very much for being here today. And I will send you a follow-up email, and you can use the links if you want to enroll. Again, in the next 24 hours, there's a special offer. We have this $1,600 price. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out and ask me those questions. Thank you for your time. And see you soon. Bye for now.